Indeed, and now we are going into lobby number 3. We do see RDU being offered an Omu over there. We see Sun picking up an Alakir, Nothi picking up a Rafarm, and Avalyn picking up Maev. So the two, I guess, OG Rafarm curve heroes down at the bottom there. And RDU picking up one of the strongest heroes in the game, in particular lobbies at least, with the Omu. That ability to just power level up as fast as possible is still extremely potent. It hasn't really been diminished by the fact that a lot of games play on Tavern 4 now, because guess what? Omu still goes to Tavern 4 quicker and more consistently than other heroes do anyway, so he still gets up there towards that light spawn or whatever the Tavern 4 win condition in the lobby is, quicker than anyone else can.
Yeah, it's a very early 2021 lineup. All of those heroes were fantastic in about January, and now they're all sort of tier 2-ish, very playable without being OP in any of their own rights. Obviously, may have suffered the nerf, Rafarm, just other heroes are able to do the same thing now. Omu, you know, you're not going to 6, you just described it, you still get to 4 quick. And Alakir, I think, might be sneaky strong. That's possibly becoming a pet hero of mine if you want to go that way, because the ability just gets you so much health at the moment.
I do think Rafarm did fall off for a while, definitely not going to dispute that, and I know you and I will have wild and violent arguments about the power level of Rafarm if we're allowed to get into it, but I would certainly agree that Rafarm fell off for a while, but I think now we're in this 4-drop meta. Rafarm actually went back up a little bit just because of how easy and natural it is to Rafarm to play that curve where he triples into a 4 on curve, right? And because before, what was difficult with Rafarm was you'd get to that point, you'd be like, okay, cool, I can take a 4 this turn, but 4s suck. I want to fight. I want to level. I want to take a 5. I want to level twice. I want to take a 6. That was the hard part to do. That was the part where you take 10, 12 damage in a turn and start to feel a little bit weak. You just don't even have to bridge that gap anymore. You just slam it, you take the 4, that can potentially set you up for a win condition.
Right, Radu's done the thing that can be fatal, and that is not get a token on your Omu.
Yes.
The hero suffers more than any other apart from Jandis when it doesn't get a token. It makes the curve really messy, but be interesting to see how he does go about staying alive, because Omu can take a lot of damage early if it's not careful when he does miss.
You're not wrong.
Wow. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
It's up there, top 3 for sure.
And he has chosen to try to level quicker next turn. That has given him an incredibly, well, not incredibly, but a very weak board going into the next turn. Going to be interesting to see if he can get that tempo back. He is in a bit of a spot here. And Elementals are out again, by the way.
They are, yeah, I was just about to bring that up. Murlocs, Ellies, and Dragons being the tribes eliminated, which leaves us again in that position where mechs can really come down and be dominant, particularly for Bill on Sneed right now. If Bill can pick up a Mechano tank, that's basically just a comp in one card for Bill, for Sneed in particular. With a lot of other people, unless you're RDU and you hit double golden tank and then 2 more tanks and just every card that you roll into is a tank, most other normal people with a normal person's RNG will have to transition from tank comp to a comp that wins at some point. When you're Sneed, you don't have to do that because tank comp actually just wins. You just fill your board with garbage, you pick up enough taunts to constantly be protecting, and you just kind of chill from there. So if Bill can find himself a way to a Mechano tank, he'll be in really good shape this game.
Right, Sun looks like she's about to take a 4. She doesn't, she's taking all the damage. Oof.
You know my stance. Yep.
You're going to get to do the thing, sort of.
Yeah, this is smart as well. This is just big thing up front with Alakir because she only has 3 other minions on her board. There is no Avenge proc. Impatient Doomsayer got double nerfed, not only on Tavern tier, but also on number of Avenge procs that it needed to give you the minion. So some would need 1 more minion on her board to even think about getting an Avenge proc, so she might as well just throw it up front, get that Divine Shield, Wind Fury on it, try and save some health that way instead, set up for the Avenge now on the following turn.
Something we don't seem to have seen much of, apart from Elementals, obviously, is mechs. We have seen a lot of this sort of board with people trying to go for Avenge but not getting it over the last 2 days. just a board to survive, things that you're being offered by Bob, cobbling things together. We haven't seen a nice, sweet, early, just grease bot and some divine shields or whatever going on in any of these lobbies. Everyone seems to be struggling to find good shots.
And I think a reason for that, honestly, might just be the prevalence of Mechanotank that we have seen, right? Because generally, mech boards like that, until they get to Buster, Baron, super late game, there's no actual stats on your board, right? It's just Divine Shields, and you're trying to 2-for-1 with those Divine Shields. So if there's a Mechanotank either shooting a Divine Shield off your minion or eliminating a minion before, like, killing your Deflecto before it refreshes, for example, suddenly your mech board falls apart real quick to a Mechanotank on the other side. The way to then perhaps mitigate that would just to be play Divine Shields, Grease Bot, and a Mechanotank of your own, but obviously that's asking a lot at that point to have all of that stuff lined up at once.
Looking forward to seeing what Simi takes on that next turn. She's got the freeze in on level 4. She would be able to take a 5-drop over a 4 if she wanted, and with all the beasts on the board, that might be tempting to her.
Avalyn does have a triple locked up there with the Quillbores. Just going to take her a few turns to be able to push through. Sun has done the smart thing here and just picked up immediate value off the Death Rattle. This is smart as well, recognizing that she can basically just put any minion up first that she wants, and that does the job of the Quillbore, even if it is just the Quillbore itself. And then since the Imprisoner is the only taunt anyway, that will always then be attacked by the opponent if not attacking first. So I actually like the previous order that she was in before she switched back there.
Yep. Another close last-minute decision there. Of course, the Doomsayer dropping demons, I tend to just assume it's dropping gold, to be honest, but that might actually be relevant on Sun's board, that they are demons. Until the very end, where you can do some sweet tricks with elementals and fellbats and stuff, of course.
Yeah, I did like this previous board a little bit more. It's very easy to say this now, but I promised this was going to be the very next thing to come out of my mouth, which is something that I've started to think about a little bit more, and I think is tangibly gaining me MMR as well, is what my first attacking minion lines up to into an Acolyte, because it's such a common minion for anyone to have on their board. So for example, on that board, Sun's board wasn't full, so there's a good chance that her opponent's first bumper took off her Divine Shield, and then your Wind Fury 6/4 was just going to trade 1-for-1 with an Acolyte at that point, which personally I think you could have tried to get a little bit more value out of that, but we're getting very deep into the details here. But personally I did like her previous positioning with the other Quillbore first, just that little bit more.
Simi did choose a 5 over a 4, which shouldn't be a notable occurrence, but it is a thing that you have to seriously think about these days.
Yep, with Acolyte and Matron on board, she has a Bran and not an Avenge minion, for example. That is a thing that does need noting here.
But there was an option for, Mama Bear and stuff as well, so I don't think it was a straightforward choice.
Absolutely. I think Beast lobbies are the only viable... I mean, never say never in this game, right? That you can find me any lobby where there's a niche situation where going for a 5 is correct, guaranteed. However, as a general rule, I think Beasts in are the only real time where it's viable to go for 5s, because Mama can still be a win condition if you hit it hard enough, and it is just an incredibly strong initial burst of tempo. Other situations, you can be specifically looking for a Mama, a Met Crawl, for example, like these key pieces that can really finish off a comp in certain positions. But I think this is a decent lobby to be looking for 5s, but still a better one to be looking for 4s. There's also the position in the game. She would have seen various other people taking those triples into 4s already before her. So if she does the same thing, a turn or 2 behind everyone else, she's probably not going to get there from that position, which incentivizes you looking for a 5 or a 6 instead.
Yeah, it's a very underrated trait to realise you're not winning the lobby and just do some good stuff to keep yourself alive for a few turns. RDU talking with not winning the lobby, I don't like how his board is looking. He did get himself some extra money. He is going to be able to level again next turn and get some Omu stuff. But if his next turn's another bad one, I think he might actually finally end his streak of great results.
Meanwhile, Collins being super greedy with this curve here with the Panda yet again. This is 2 Panda games in a row for Collins, worth noting. But once again, similar style to before, right? He's behind on tiers and he's been accruing resources at low levels. You see Golden Bird Person is actually something that he can build around tempo for quite some time and actually still be very strong. And then greeding a triple here. And it looks like if he's picking up the other gambler, he's going to greed this triple yet again and actually go all the way for a 6 next turn using this extra 6 gold from the 2. Oh no, he's going to cash one out right now for an immediate Hydra. This probably protects enough health to be worth it as well because of the Golden Bird Buddy, and he's still able to do the plan with the 6 drop next turn, no problem.
Yeah, 34 health and damage cap still on and a chance of a 6. He's going to take that chance. Very nice to see.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've seen much of Collins and Shady talking, but it's a result I'm not surprised by. They have very opposing opinions on the game, which is weird because they're both really, really good at the game.
I do, yeah. I've watched 2 of their streams, I think, almost start to finish. Super interesting. You know, learned a lot, and I think they are the best streams to learn from, especially from my mindset. I don't necessarily, in Battlegrounds in particular, want one good player to tell me with certainty that things are right and wrong, because I think if anyone is doing that, they're probably wrong, because good players understand what they don't know about this game. So much more useful to me is hearing 2 good players disagree and just take each other's point of view, you know, back and forth and trying to find middle ground and work out where the sweet spot is. I think that's absolutely the best way to learn the most about this game.
They've added XD into their podcast now as well, who is another player with
really?
a third sort of set of opinions, because he's quite a conservative player in my opinion at least, and it's very interesting to listen to them all talking it through. Oh, RDU doing 12 damage there to Aveline, so he sorted that board out to some degree. I didn't catch what it all was because I was waffling away, but looks like he might be back on track.
Yeah. RDU's put something nice together. Av did take that triple from the Quill Balls that I was talking about that she had locked up with the double dormant. She took it into a 5, picked up a mech crawl, so she's still a little bit weak overall, still lacking a win condition in general. We do now see Collins hitting that big greed turn, just picks up the Tempo King Eliza, but now Aveline is offered a Hogger and a Tony of her own. Ends up going with the Pig instead, though, which is a little bit strange considering right now she's really not into Blood Gem synergy at all.
Yeah. I think she's in sort of try and get the good cards mode, and this is the sort of thing that I sometimes fall into where it's like, well, they're all good cards, and you end up with 4 opposing sets of good cards, but this can change around quickly, right?
It can, yeah, but I think it changes around quicker. Like, if you were going to take a 6-6, I'd rather take the one that randomly wins you the game sometimes, which is Hogger, right? If things line up perfectly from that position. I just think that's a better high roll to play for. I don't think, like, 90% of the time, you are neither going to be Infinite Pirates or get enough Blood Gems that the Pig ends up being relevant. But I do think that the Hogger is probably a marginally higher percentage out in that position for my thinking.
Sun here looks like she's sort of abusing the damage cap. She's gone to 6 and she's set up a board of 2 minions to not have much going on this turn. This is what you were talking about. This is your moment, Sottle, with the be greedy until you can't anymore with your Avenge. Even though it's not an amazing example, it's what she's doing.
Yeah, and I think she is giving it the proper amount of respect. That's a fantastic hit, by the way, sniping out the Hydra there. That saved her so much health. But I think she is treating this perfectly because, again, if this was a Dazzling Lightspawn, I would even argue that Sun had made herself far too strong that turn, right? Because she couldn't die. She was actually going to kill some stuff way too quickly. She should just be buying Acolytes and Icky Imps and getting as strong as possible. Doomsayer is not Lightspawn. You have to have that balance because you're not going to explode in one turn and win the game immediately. You do need to get incrementally stronger while still milking. That's where, like, Imp Matron, for example, comes in so clutch because it's a fantastic, strong minion that is still a 3-in-1 minion that can help you milk off Doomsayer. Sun isn't quite there. She's rocking the Imprisoners instead, but she has a decent setup at the very least. But as I said, that hit on the Hydra potentially saved her a good chunk of health there, even though perhaps not the most important thing in the world because damage cap still being in place, as you pointed out.
Very quick bit of admin work. Europe won the previous lobby by 3. They lost the first lobby by 5, so they're 2 points behind here.
Yes.
I don't think we conveyed that. Okay, so Dog is relying on the bird persons here to just keep himself in the game, but like you've talked about several times, and it taught me a lot, they can buy you a lot of time. Even though they're not winning you the game, you're not winning the game on turn 8 or 9 anyway. You just want to get up, keep up with the rest of the lobby, and hope something turns around.
RDU starting to put something together here. 2 Great Wolves, one already on board, one in shop. He has a Reborn Rattler as well, which he can use to pick up another Reborn on the Goldrin. He also has a triple in shop, which could be a Myexna, could be a Golden Goldrin, could be all manner of things from this position, but we'll see what he ends up with. That's none of the above. Hamul was the green option, and with a very un-RDU line, he is playing Tempo King here at 10 HP, and I think the reason for that, Lorinda, is he's fighting Sneed this turn. He's at 10 HP, his damage cap is off, and the damage cap is on, but he can die to it, if you want to be precise with your language. So he understood that he needed to be as strong as humanly possible this turn, because Sneed does not mess about. You will get found out real quick against Sneed if you try and mess about in that position.
He's got the Reborn, it's gonna get. That's okay.
It's just not close, is it?
No, it's not enough. And it's gonna be Bill.
Oh, the Matron though! The last moment of BM from RDU. He's gonna go down, but he's gonna go down swinging as he takes out the Nest Matron way too early for WTY Bill's liking. Shutting off a potential extra card off the milk, and he is just gonna have to make do with eliminating the king of the last 2 lobbies, it has to be said, with RDU, and it's going to be now up to the rest of Team Europe to put things together. But at the same time, off camera, that Maev is Avalyn, who has gone down at the same time, which means it is now just Sun on the Alakir and Simi on the Rafarm left hanging in this lobby for Europe. And if you look over at that left-hand side, that does not spell good reading for fans of Europe, because they are currently the 2 weakest players in the lobby in terms of health. Not that that necessarily means too much in terms of who is going to walk out the winner of the lobby.
Yes, interesting actually. We haven't seen much of Slysssa in this one, but last time we saw her, she had a mutinous board, but no divine shields and stuff going on. Or if she's fixed that, because she has some big things on the board already. No, she's still struggling to get full value out of the hero power. When it goes on your tank, it's weird. The tank's sitting there forever. You don't want the buff tank a lot of the time, because you want to sell the thing that gets buffed and buff a divine shield or buff a more important minion.
Yeah, and I think she has just resigned to Tempo Queen in this position, right? Like, double juggler, golden tank, double imprisoner, like, that's just basically her board at this point, and she's going to see how far that can carry her.
Golden juggler, golden tank, next turn.
That's huge. I mean, that opens up another board space for another demon. You can fit a Void Lord or an Imp Matron in there, which is a whole load more pew-pew that can come from Golden Juggler and Golden Tank.
See what the pairings are. That's a lot of
Ooh,
stats.
that's a lot of health.
That's Sun on Alakir. That's important for Europe that Sun has built this board up so big.
Yeah. And importantly as well, she's cashed out of the Doomsayer. We didn't necessarily watch her last fight, but this is a sign of a very accomplished player. Bad players keep the Doomsayer even after it stopped milking. Average players will play one fight and say, okay, it didn't milk, I'll sell it now. Good players sell it the turn before it stops milking, and that's what Sun looks like she might have done in that spot.
Yeah, and she's had to tread the line all the way through this, because she had like 5 1/1s and not much else going on early on, and she did the thing, make one big minion, let Alakira's hero power do its thing, and buy the time to get to the situation she's in now. So she has trodden this line really well in this game.
That is Avalyn, though, on the... No, sorry, that is Simi on the Rafarm, with Avalyn already having died on the Maev. So that means it is a 4-person Americas team, all up against a single Sun Glitters on the Alakir.
Yeah, and if Sun can take this lobby down, she's going to get, once again, the disappointment, finally getting a really good result, possibly, and then looking across and finding out who her teammates were, and they've all come in the bottom 3. And that's a long way to go yet. I mean, even though she's got an okay board, you know, she's not by any stretch a long way clear or anything.
I've been meaning to ask this whole tournament as well who that strange blonde-haired lady sat behind Sun is in this tournament, but I find it strange that there's allowed to be someone else sitting that close to her.
Absolutely. Very used to the avatar now. Which is amazing, by the way.
It is great.
Dog's board is just doing what you'd expect. Bill's board is doing what you'd expect, just progressing through gradual incremental improvements while waiting for the Goldens to turn up. Collins? These boards are so similar. I mean, obviously, of course, they're both hitting final build, but...
Yes. No one finding the Baron just yet. Collins having access to more dogs, more parrots overall. Whereas Bill has the Mama Bear and Death Rattle synergy, so he kind of has more layers of stats, whereas Collins just dumps more stats onto the board immediately. And yeah, again, you want to go back to my point of like step number 1, talk about what your first attack does into an Acolyte. There's still an Acolyte on this board. It's turn 11 and it's still hanging around there because of the double taunt effect that it's providing against Alakir. So I think that is a relevant concern way later into the game than a lot of people might suspect. Yeah,
very hard necessarily to predict it. Like, it makes your point much more concrete from earlier on. It's going to happen early on, and then you've got to find the time where you're willing to bail on it.
9, go right. Okay, no way that you get back into the Battle Master, so you're always going to take that 5. That's 11 more damage coming through here from Sun. 11's not 17 though, and that's another player surviving. However, that's 2 players dying on the other side, leaving it just down to, I believe, Bill, Collins, and Sun at the end of all of this. Sun has survived 2 of the Americas players. There is still 2 left to fight off though.
And once again, Bill is one of them. He's a regular high MMR player. We see him playing against streamers all the time, like super high. But he has been doing incredibly well and sort of going a little unnoticed thanks to the dominance of RDU, I think.
That is also with Slysssa going out in 4th place as the Mutinous. It was a tied 4th, 5th, sure. But just in terms of where the game put her, her 3 finishes in this round were 3rd, 4th in 3 lobbies, which is a fantastic performance yet again from Slysssa.
What's the good use for Fellbats? I always feel they scale incredibly slowly. By the time you've actually got it functioning, it doesn't really seem to help you because everyone's scaling faster. Is that right?
I think that is fair assessment, yes, but I do also think she has demons of sufficient size that just pumping more stats onto those is not the end of the world. I think generally what you're trying to do in this situation, and Sun's hand kind of speaks to the fact that she's understanding that, is you keep whichever demons have got absolutely massive, so the 40-40 and maybe the 25-25 now as well. Then with the rest of your board, you're just trying to make poisons, which you're seeing here with the Rattler on the Myexna, and then you just want Divine Shields to go alongside this as well. So I think Sun demonstrating perfect understanding of how to convert demons from a top 4 comp to a winning comp. Just keep the things you've got that are huge and then convert the rest into poison. She's doing the best that she can to turn this around into a top 1 build.
And I've just decided to pause and just look at the games and not talk. Who knew that was my job? Alright, having a look at the Collins fight against the Ghost. He's looking absolutely monstrous now over there though.
Yeah, and I think much more important on the other side is this fight for supremacy between Sun and Bill. I think Bill is just running out of stats here, even though the Mama is giving absolute max value. It just depends how many Death Rattles I think are over on that right-hand side in those 2 5-drops with the Mama and the Croc. And actually, he got so much Croc value that I think it's not going to matter. And Bill is just going to put Sun to sleep here, and that is going to be an America's 1-2 again with 11 damage going through to Sun. A valiant effort. She fought back the wave of the Americas almost single-handedly in that game, as RDU has been doing for most of the tournament that preceded this. But now it's going to once again come down to an Americas 1 and 2, as Collins and Bill are going to battle for beast supremacy. But the great news they're going to find out at the end is that this was a 1 and 2 being fought between two Americas players. Again, players do not know who is playing who in this tournament. It's a unique twist that we haven't really seen in other team tournaments. So these players will still be playing their hearts out trying to secure the bag in the first place here, because for all they know, that's RDU or Avalyn or Sun on the other side that they're facing off against, and they need to defend the turf for their region.
Yeah, and I actually find it incredibly amusing that we get this moment where we, the viewers, just get to sort of revel in the misery of the players, knowing that we're not doing anything bad because they're going to be happy at the result either way. But we just get this moment where we get to just enjoy them having to suffer. Wouldn't be quite.
You'll see very soon what I was talking about earlier with Bird Goes First being probably the biggest 50-50, the biggest coin flip in the game, because Bill's zap is still just big enough to be able to take down some of this board. The Hydra and the Goldrin will go down. I guess the Goldrins will just go down before anything else with the way this board is lined up. Actually, the Mama Bear being a 1-7, I did not spot the 1-7. Okay, so that was Vol'jin hero power, I guess, that flipped the Mama and the Baron specifically to play around this scenario. Very smartly done from Collins. I thought that was just a straight up buffed Baron, didn't notice the flip. So yeah, very, very nicely done overall.
Yeah, and he's taken that decision, I don't know which turn, but whenever it was, he saw this coming at some point, so very nice. And
it's a huge, huge difference, right? Because if he didn't have the 1-7 Mama, the zap would have hit the Goldrin twice, which means no bird value if the zap ends up going first, because both Goldrin, the Goldrin and the reborn Goldrin, would have both been killed in that position. So the fact that he was still able to pick up the value there is a big, big deal. But still, Sneed is going to Sneed in these positions. He's doing his absolute level best to try and scam. Oh! Poison spawn on the right! That's disgusting! I don't think it gets there, though. No. Collins just about holds on, but it's not enough damage. There has to be another fight. And now, Bill knows. Bill no longer lacks critical information as to what he's up against with the Baron on the other side, so he can plan much more effectively to deal with that board state, and he finds a Baron of his own.
Yeah, ripping his own Baron there is going to sort of level this up a lot, remembering he is on that Sneed, which gives him a lot of hidden value as well. Collins trying to work out if he can work this Poison into the mix, if he can work this Divine Shield into the mix, but Divine Shield doesn't really work with this. Does get the double poison though now.
Yeah, Argus is nice too on Collins' side. Reborn is fantastic on Bill's side. Both players hitting big on this turn. Bill choosing to focus poison instead of the stat dump with the Wolf and the Baron, which I think is a good recognition. If he's selling his own zap here, he's kind of conceding stats, right? Because there's no way he can build a board that's as oppressive as what his opponent has. He's leaving up a Baron because he's given up his zap, so he has no real way of interacting with it because he knows Collins has that played around. So with Bird, Reborn, Wolf, he knows he can't catch up in terms of stats. So instead, he's going for the scam with the Poison Reborn instead, considering that to be his best way out.
Yeah, and you saw the opposite on the other side there from Collins. He had the chance to take the Poison Reborn. Actually, he's ended up with it anyway, but it wasn't his first choice, Poison Reborn. He reborned the Bird first and chose to go to keep the pressure on using the stats he already had. So the difference in choice was made by the fact that one of them is a little bit ahead, or a long way ahead.
Value trades for the Maexner are really nice here, but it does not look like Bill is anywhere close because of this raw number of stats. Like, yes, that Maexner is going to be able to kill two things, but find me the board that kills the rest of this nonsense. It's just not there, and those two cleaves are looking an awful lot better than the ones we saw in the previous game where they marched straight into random poison minions being spawned from all this Sneed garbage, and that is looking like a definitive Collins victory. again, he will soon realize that this was all much of a muchness. He'll still be happy with the lobby victory. He will be even happier when he finds out it was an America's player that he beat in the second position.
Yeah, and they are going to take down the 2 points for the Battlegrounds portion of America versus Europe.
Size check.
What does that mean?
Size matters, so people can check out what size they are by typing the command size. See if they're chonkers or dinkers or average or growers or showers.